Hello there and welcome. In the previous episode, we started fixing our crafting system and we still have a few things left. First of all, if we go into the crafting system, we can see that we have this unwanted block of code over here. Now, there's nothing wrong with the actual code, but there is no need for it because we can do it from the inspector. We're just getting a reference to the button and then we're setting this onClick to call these methods. So these methods are still fine, but we can do this from the inspector. So instead we are going to go to this tools button and we can find it over here inside the player crafting screen and we have the different buttons. So we can go to this tools button and we can have different actions when we click on this button. So what we are doing, we're basically calling this open tools category method. And although we can simply call this method, right? We can go over here, reference the crafting system so we can access the method. We can make the method public. And then we can call this method open tools category. That's it. So now when we click on this button, this method will be called. So now we can basically remove this entire thing. And we can also remove the reference. And we can do this for all the buttons. But this will still call this method. And this method is also kind of ugly because all we're doing is closing the other UIs or basically making sure they're closed. But we can do all of this from the inspector as well. We can also call this refresh needed items from the inspector. So we are basically closing all the different categories, but we're opening the tools screen. So we can do this as well. So instead of calling this method, we're simply going to drag the tools category screen and we're going to set the game object to be active. And we enable this checkbox because we do want to make it active. But then we also add references for the other screens, for the survival category, for the refine category, for the construction category, and we simply set them to be off. So these ones will be off, but this one will be on, right? Because that's exactly what we are doing here. Now we also set the crafting screen UI to be false because this is the main UI, so let's also add it here. This entire crafting screen, right? So now all these screens will be closed, but this screen will be opened, okay? And this is exactly what we do here. Now we also want to call this method. So to call this method, we need to make sure that it's actually public, and I think that it is public. So we're going to add another action, onClick, and we're going to drag the crafting system. And we're going to call this refresh needed items. So all of this will happen when we click this button and we don't need this method anymore. So now we can get rid of this entire method. We can get rid of this entire thing and we can get rid of the actual references, tool screen UI, tools button, and we can do this for all of the other screens. And this way our crafting system will be much cleaner. Now, it really depends on you. Maybe you don't like this. You don't like to add all of these references inside of the inspector. You like it this way, the way we had it before. It's really up to you. You can leave it. It's not going to make your game work worse, right? It's not going to affect anything. But you should know that Unity has this option, so why not use it? So we are going to do this for the other ones, and this way we're going to get rid of all of this. So we're simply going to delete this, we're going to delete this, we're going to delete this, we're going to delete all of this, we're going to delete all of these references. We also don't need a reference to this. I don't know why we Oh yes, we need it because we want to make it active when we open the actual UI. So keep it here, but the other ones are not required anymore. And now our code is even shorter than before. Now I noticed that we are going to have to keep these references because we are closing the screens when we close the entire inventory. So we're going to keep these ones, but the buttons are not required. Let's just bring back this one. Which one? We had the survival, the tools. What was the name? Tool screen UI. So we're going to keep a reference to these screens because we still need them, but the other ones, the actual buttons, we don't need them, we don't need this, we don't need the methods. We're going to do all of this from the UI. So now we're going to do the same for all the other buttons. So when we click on the survival button, we're going to close the crafting screen. We're going to close the tool screen. We're going to close the refine screen. Basically make sure they are closed, right? And if you have more categories later, obviously add them as well. So all the other ones will be closed, but the survival itself will be opened. Okay, and obviously we also want to add this refresh needed items. And now I'm going to do the same for the other ones. Okay, so now all of them have these references, and now if we close our crafting screen and we run the game, we can see that it will work without the code. So I'm pressing C, I'm clicking on the tools category, I'm closing it, I'm clicking on the basic survival. Okay, so everything is working as we wanted. And now our code is much cleaner, much shorter. We don't have all of these nasty references. We still want these references and obviously these containers. So we need to add these containers as well. I showed you how to do this for the tools container, but I'm also going to do it for the other ones. So the same way we had it for the tools category, right? We added this scroll view and then the viewport. We had this tools container. We add all of this. We can simply duplicate this scroll view, or rather make it into a prefab, and then open our survival screen. Remove this storage box, right? We don't need it anymore. And drag the scroll view inside. And just make sure that it's actually positioned as we want. Okay, it's positioned fine. And we're simply going to unpack it. And we're going to rename this to be survival container. And we're going to drag the survival container into the crafting system. Then we're going to do the same thing with, let's also unpack this. Let's close the survival screen. Let's open the refine category. Let's delete this plank. Let's drag the prefab inside. Make sure it's positioned correctly. Unpack it. And rename it to be refine container. Drag the refine container into the crafting system. And we can close this. And now we also want to do this for the construction one. So we're going to remove the foundation, the wall, and I don't know what this is, but we're going to drag this inside. We're going to unpack it. Tools container, we're going to rename it to be construction container. And now that we did this for all of these, we can also delete the prefab because all of them are not using the actual prefab. And also we want to drag the construction one. And now we have a reference to all the containers. So now all we need to do is create new blueprints, drag them into the crafting system, over here into this list, and it will all happen automatically. We don't need to touch our crafting system anymore. That's the only thing you need to do. You need to add these new scriptable objects. Now we already deleted all the blueprints we had, but I have this written somewhere, so let's just create all of these back again. Let's also create a folder, blueprints. Let's drag all of them inside. We can also take this one, drag it into the prefabs. We can drag these ones into the script folder. And then inside the blueprints, we're going to create a few more. So we need one for the foundation. We need one for the... We had a wall, right? And we also had storage box. So the storage box, number to produce one, requirements, we had one requirement that was plank 2, and the sprite will be, let's see, box. We can simply go to our actual storage box, not this one. Let's see, storage box. So this is the icon. The sprite, we can simply check what is the sprite. Where is the sprite? Oh, this is the actual, so the inventory item, chest. Okay, this is the name. So we can go back here. Chest. And it's going to be in the survival category, right? Then we are going to do this for the foundation as well. The foundation had also one item to produce, one requirement, plank, but this one was with 4 planks. It was also a part of the it was part of the construction. And the sprite was, I think this one. Then for the wall, I don't remember what we had for the wall. It was this, okay, it was called wall. So now we have all the original blueprints that we had, but we don't need to place them here. They will be placed automatically. So if we go into the tools, we can see the axe. If we go into construction, it should add them. I don't know why it didn't add them. Oh, of course, we did not drag them into the crafting system. So we need to drag the foundation. The order doesn't matter at all. We have a plank, the storage box, the wall. So every new blueprint should go into the crafting system. And now they should appear. If we go construction, we can see both of them. Obviously, we cannot build them because we don't have planks. If we want to have planks, we should have logs, right? We can simply chop down this tree. Oh, it's still floating. I don't like it. Let's just... take this tree and move it a bit down. Okay. I don't know why it's floating. Oh, it's not this one. Come on. It's this one. Okay. Okay, so now our tree looks fine, and we can pick up these items. We can craft our axe. You can see it here. We can equip it, and we can chop down this tree. We're going to pick up these logs, and now we can basically refine them into planks. And now we have 4 planks. So we're going to create a storage box, or maybe create a foundation and a wall. So there's a problem here with this. We can fix this. Anyway, we can use the crafting system and everything is working. It will automatically add these blueprints into their own relevant categories. So for example, let's create another blueprint that we don't have. Maybe, let's say, plank, log, fishing rod. Maybe we had the... where was it? Campfire, right? We never created this blueprint, so we can simply go over here, create a new scriptable object, campfire. We're going to name it campfire. Number to produce 1, requirements, let's say 2. 1 will be stone. Maybe we need 3 stones for now. Stick, or maybe logs instead, whatever. And we're going to set it to be survival, and we're going to use the campfire icon. And now we're going to drag it into the crafting system. And that's it. We have the campfire blueprint. And now if we pick up these items, we can create it. Obviously, we have a problem with this big text here, but we can fix it. But you can see now it's very, very easy. You don't need to go into the code at all. You don't need to add any kind of blueprints here. You don't need to change anything. All you need to do is create these scriptable objects and add them into the crafting system and specify the category. Now, obviously, for your game, you can create more categories. You can create additional categories. You can do all over again. You can duplicate these ones and have more categories. It really depends on you. And let's just fix the problem we had. Tools category screen. Actually, the problem is with the prefab. This blueprint prefab. It's kind of hard to see it here, but if I change the name to something long, if it's just X, then it's fine. But if I put foundation, you can see that it's going to be cut off. So we can simply either click here, best fit, and then it's going to make it smaller, or you can just make the entire font smaller, or you can increase the size of this. It doesn't matter. I'm going to maybe put best fit, and now we're not going to have this problem anymore. campfire, and we have the foundation. Everything looks fine. The text is different just because this is longer and this is shorter. You can not use best fit and just use the same font size so everyone will look the same. But now our crafting system is much more efficient. Also, because we don't need the blueprint class anymore, we can go to our scripts, this old blueprint class, not the blueprint data, the blueprint class that we had before. This old one, right? We can delete it because we don't need it anymore. We are using the blueprint UI, we're using the blueprint data, which is the scriptable object, and we don't need the old blueprint class that we had. Now you can continue and add all the things that you want to be able to craft. You can add them into the store. So some of them you can buy, right? Some of them you can craft, maybe this watering can, maybe the fishing rod, maybe other things that you want to be able to craft or buy. So if you want to buy them, add them here. If you want to craft them, add them there. And that's basically it for the crafting system. Now, I think that we have a problem just because of my testing with the remove item method inside the inventory system. It may work fine when we just try to remove one item, but if we try to remove several items because of the stackable system, it's going to give us problems. So instead, I'm going to provide you some code to a new version, okay? And I'm going to paste this code here. I just don't want to type everything out. I'm going to provide you this in the description. Simply remove everything from the remove item method and paste this new code. So it simply changes the way it loops over the slots, and it will actually check for items inside each slot and remove them instead of creating a full loop and then going back and creating another loop. So this will be much more efficient, and now it should work. And I'm going to provide you this in the description. So let's see if it's working. And you can see this when we need more than one item to remove. For example, for not the plank, for this storage box, for example, we need 2 planks. So it should basically work. Let's see. We have 2 logs. We are going to craft this plank. And now we need 1 log for 2 planks. It's going to generate 2 planks. Then we are going to craft another one. So it's going to add 1 to this stack and another to the first stack, right? Because we said that we can only have 3 in each stack. And now if we try to craft this, it should remove 2 planks. So it should remove the first one and then the second one from this one. And now we can see that it's working. And if we want another one, we can craft again. It's a problem with the stacks not being even. So maybe before it worked for other things, but I just found out about this bug, so I wanted to fix it. And now we can craft the storage box. We can place it. We can open it. So now our crafting system is basically done. I don't really see any way we can improve it. Maybe with the opening of the UI and closing of the UI. But other than that, it's very short. It's working. I told you that we're going to check if we need this calculate. So if we run this calculate here, we basically just refresh the items. And we can do this here, but we do this here as well. Then we recalculate, which is just a way. For now, let's just keep it. I also wanted to change something that I found here. Inside of the blueprint data, I have a typo here. Rec1 amount. It should be amount. So rename it. Rename it like this, not just by changing the name. Actually, right click, rename amount And also this one. I don't know why I did not notice this before. Requirements. Okay, so that's all for this episode. Now in the next episode, we are going to do other things, but these will be things that you request. So I have a list of things that some of you requested, and I'm going to implement them. Sometimes it will be a couple of things in each episode. If these are more complicated things, I'm going to do one in each episode. But we basically have all the main systems that you can find in a survival game. Obviously, you can spend more time making things look good, making things look better, but this is your job for your own game. This is not something I can actually help you with because this is just a demo. It's not going to be an actual full game. We have a saving system, a loading system, we have a main menu. We did all of this, we covered all of this. You can basically complete the game. And now we're going to focus on other things, on specific things, like riding horses, maybe chainsaws. So I'm going to pick these requests and I'm going to show you how to do them. So that's all for this episode. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe. You can also leave a like. You can also become a member of the channel, and I'll see you next time.